Hello and good evening. It is Monday and we apologize because we are coming late. It is 7:49 p.m. Hope you're doing well. You had a lovely day and your weekend was awesome. We had a great one and we are back. We are here. This is the City Gate and this is the show where we come to tackle issues concerning men. You know, we say that we don't want ill things to come into the city, neither do we want the important things to leave the city. And we come to you every Monday from 7 p.m. And we don't come alone. Tonight I have three musketeers.
Three? What again?
Three?
We are three.
Yes, musketeers.
So it's not you have. You
We are normally four suspects.
Yes.
But tonight, it is three musketeers. Are you guys ready?
Yes, we are.
Of course, yes.
You're
Very ready.
Very ready. Yes.
And we are talking about
Money.
Money.
Pesa.
unaita, kuna kajina unaitaga hii ya vijana.
Do.
No.
Nimesahau.
Yes, we are
Nitakubuka along the way.
we are here to talk about
Yes.
men in financial crisis. And I know after COVID-19, people have gone through financial crisis. And that is what we want to talk about this beautiful night. And I am joined by my guy, the financial guy. My goodness. Yeah. And you look like money.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. And it's what an introduction. Very nice to see you, and thank you for introducing me like that. And I was telling you last time, if you remember, when we talk about finances, ni kama kuweka samaki kwa maji. Just like you and Love.
And Totwa.
Oh, okay. Hey.
Did you have to bring that one here? Totwa ni ya wenyewe ni dawa.
Dawa.
Wacha na Totwa ni ya wenyewe.
Yes, Simon is my name.
Yes.
And I'm happy to be here.
Yeah.
And happy to be talking about money, men in money crisis, in these very interesting times that we are living in.
Yeah.
They're quite interesting, very unique. I don't think in our time whether we've ever had a pandemic. Since we were born, it's the first pandemic.
Yeah.
We hear our parents talking about pandemics that used to be there, but we've never experienced a pandemic.
Yeah.
Of course, World War II happened when most of us were not born. So we've never seen, we've seen people invading other people, but we've not seen one that has affected almost the entire world, like this particular time. So these are interesting times.
Yes.
And I'm happy to be here to share a few things about how we can survive these times.
Wow. Thank you so much. And it's important to say that the two men that I'm having on set tonight, they are both accountants. Ni watu wa hesabu. So mimi ni mtu wa mapenzi. So mimi leo sitaongea sana. And my reverend.
Yes.
My pastor.
You are accountant.
My author.
You are what? You're all model.
My mentor. Hey.
In the right
my
thing.
intentionality.
Yes. You don't have to add so much.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's a good night, and and like Simon has said, we are going through tough times.
Yes.
And I actually don't think it's just about the pandemic, but I think there is so much that is happening and that is taking place in this country that is bringing about the financial strain that is upon men. Of course, the pandemic changes quite some dynamics.
Yeah.
You know that kids closed. They opened school. Was it in May?
Yeah.
They just closed school last week.
And next
and
week.
And next week we have to pay school fees.
Yes.
It's not easy. Prices are going up. I'm not sure they are going up because of COVID. There must be other economic issues that are impacting that. Of course, some people have told us that Ukraine has an impact on this, maybe to a little percentage. But there is so much that is putting strain. The pandemic is here. things have changed. You know, prices are going up. The other dangerous thing that is happening in our country is that so many companies are relocating because doing business in this country has become very difficult. And when companies relocate, that means hundreds or thousands losing jobs along the chain, because a company does not only employ the people that are working there. So there's so much that is happening, and it is putting a lot of weight on men. Because since we were young, we've been taught that men are the providers. And for those of us who want to be responsible, we are carrying the heavy burden of providing for our families. And therefore, men are in real financial crisis.
Wow.
Yes.
And that is what we want to talk about this beautiful night. And my name is Willie Kinyash. I'm a Dr. Love. I'm the undisputed. My finance guy. So we are in agreement that we are going, or we are facing crisis in this nation.
Yeah.
So men are going through financial crisis. What happens when such crises arise?
Wow. One thing that we need to appreciate is that in times of abundance, there are people who save for times that are not going to be times that are not going to have abundance, and there are seasons come and go. Now, the difference between other seasons and this particular season that we are in, and Reverend said that they are over and above the pandemic. There were other factors, but like, for example, the pandemic, that was not planned. I remember when we started the year, the year before the pandemic, we did our 3-year strategic plan, and after doing that, we projected and looked at how the future would be. And after ending the first quarter, actually no, we had not even ended the first quarter, because I remember the first week of March 2020 is when there was that announcement. And that changed so many things. And there were some people who found themselves in situations that they had never planned for. Yeah, there are people who found themselves in scenarios that you are in the hospitality industry, or we can't move, or businesses are closed, and the organizations can only sustain you for 3 months, 6 months. And after that, they either deduct your salary, reduce your salary a certain percentage, or lay you off, because they don't have income. And the most prudent thing to do is let people go. So, and as Reverend has said, the people that got themselves facing the brunt of that particular, the impact of such a scenario, were mostly men. Of course, women were also affected, but mostly men. What do you do when you finding yourself in a scenario whereby you are able to fully fund your, you are able to pay your rent comfortably, you're able to fuel, you're able to school your kids comfortably, and have a little bit of savings with the incomes that you are having? Now, your employer tells you that 50%, it's either you take 50% cut or you go. So what does 50% mean? You have to scale down. You have your kids at home for a whole year. Yeah? And then after the whole year, then wanaanza marathon. And your incomes didn't grow. Your incomes were reduced. But the responsibilities, there was a meme that I saw, someone saying that fuel is traveling like a cheetah. And I can't remember what else was traveling, like I can't remember what, but the salary is growing and moving at the rate of a tortoise. So at the end of the day, some of these things load a lot of burden on the common mwananchi. Things that we weren't able to navigate. We can't be able to navigate around with ease like we used to before. There was someone I was telling, if I was vying right now, there are few quick things that I would do that would bring in money and alleviate a lot of this pain that we have right now. one, I don't want to criticize the government. It did what it thought it was right that particular time. But I think a number of the projects that the government went into were unnecessary, in my view. This is my own view. And then the monies that, that were supposed to be for the common mwananchi, that money, the government used that to fund the infrastructure projects that they had. And the common mwananchi does not have money flowing. So liquidity has reduced. And a few quick things that I would, if I was the president, do, and was one, ensure that people are paid, like if you're being paid monthly, pay people twice a month. If you're funding infrastructure projects, fund them from borrowed funds from outside, not from treasury bills, treasury bonds. Let banks give in money, because I think that is what Kibaki did. When banks were out there lending money, there is money in the economy. And then government paying their contractors on time.
Yeah.
And that would very easily bring in a lot of liquidity. Now, that is wishful thinking. What do we do now?
Yeah.
Men are in crisis. In crisis, your salary has been reduced. Number one, someone said if you're in a hole, the best thing to do is stop digging. If you are in debt, don't get into more expensive debt. Try as much as you can to reduce the amount of debt, to borrow from people that are not going to charge you. How much is it per day? 1% per day, or even 10% per month, which comes to, I think, 100 and something percent for the whole year. Get to friends if you can. If you have relatives that you can reach out to relatives. Yeah. That's number one. If you can get an extra job that you can do, some little bit of work that will bring you income, instead of just sitting idle doing nothing, because your bills will still pile up. Yeah. Yeah. Even if you're living in your own house, you know, there are people who are lucky, they're living in their own homes, so there's no rent to pay, but the kids need to go back to school. You know, you need to move around. You can use matatus, you can use your car. Matatu, the prices have increased, so you need to be liquid. Yeah. So find something extra that you can do that would bring in you, will bring you extra income. And some of these things would someone was saying, even kids, I think this is the time to allow your kids to understand that not everything they ask for, they get. Spouses, for men, not everything your spouses ask for, if you can afford, well and good. But if you can't, this is the time to have everyone understanding that times are different. And of course, this is a season, and the fact that this season is a difficult season and a tough season doesn't mean that this season will not go. So, and you asked, how does it affect a man? Definitely, when your kid is asking you for school fees and you can't afford, it stresses you as a man. Yeah. It breaks you down. You know, there are issues, there are expenses that you would have comfortably taken care of. Basics, you could have comfortably taken care of. And right now, because things have become different, you're not able to, or even if you're able to, not to the extent that you used to before the incomes changed. So it somehow stresses some men. And I remember someone was giving me a story, it was in the papers the other day, of a guy who started a project and got into real estate. They bought a plot, a big chunk piece of land. They got funding, and they got people on board to build in these projects. It stalled, and luckily they were able to get more funds. But when the project was complete, this is the saddest bit. When the project was complete, I think either because of the pressure that he had gotten into, the guy committed suicide. Yeah. You know, when you're about to get out of you know, this difficult season. Your stay in power runs out, and you're like, whew, I don't think I can bear this anymore. You know, it's too much. I have been fighting with lenders. Lenders have been pulling out. Others, I have to, when they pull out, I have to look for more lenders. And that is one person that is making it. How about these people that have been listed, men that have been listed, and they can't even borrow. They can't even go to their friends and relatives. When your friends and relatives see you calling, they don't want to pick your calls. How, as a man, do you feel when you're in that particular place? It's a difficult place.
True.
But you cannot afford to give up.
And I want to bring in Rev in, and I want us to pick from where Kiari has just stopped. And I want to ask, are there ways that men can prepare for financial crisis?
Wow, yeah, that's a great question, and it's a good question for me because I've always said that you don't buy an ambulance when the leg is already broken.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, and you don't buy a fire engine when the fire is raging. And I think it's important for us to talk to our men and let them know that financial planning is something that you must do, and you must stop being short-sighted. And you must use the certainty of today to take care of the uncertainty of tomorrow. Because today is very certain, but tomorrow is very uncertain. If you have 100 shillings today, that is certain. But you have no certainty of getting that 100 shillings tomorrow. So how can you make use of this certainty that you have today to ensure that you are taking care of your uncertainty of tomorrow? And there are several things that men ought to do. Number one, you ought to find what are your priorities. What things do you want to ensure that whether come rain, is it come rain or come sunshine?
Come rain or shine.
That these things are done. That I want my family to always be fed. I want my children to always be in school. I want the health of my family to always be taken care of. I want to ensure that there is always a roof above my family. These are priorities. How do you take care of those priorities? You can start looking at what is there today that can prepare me for tomorrow. If it is in terms of talk about education, what can I do today? I've always done arithmetics for young people. And I've told young people that, let us use the example of the system that is just gone, the 844 system. If you give birth to a child today, and that child is born, and you know that when this child will be in class 8, not live around even born, when you take your child to class 1, and you know that in 80 years this child will be going to form 1, if you save 50 shillings every day, 50 bob peke yake every day, for the time that this child in primary school, by the time this child is going to form 1, you'll be having 146,000 shillings. That child can't fail to go to school. And we have schemes that help in that. And it's something that personally I've done practically. And they come in handy. My daughter finished class 8 during the crisis and went to Form 1 in 2021 when, you know, we were in a rush and all this. But I can tell you, when that girl was 3 years, I started saving in an education fund with an insurance company. By the time she was going to Form 1, they paid me a handsome amount of money. And it was not strenuous to every month put in something small, small. But it came in handy during the crisis. Because when she was 3 years, in the year 2010, I didn't know that there will be a crisis in the year 2021. She was supposed to have done class 8 in the year 2020. She did it in the year 2021. But for 11 years, I was putting some little amount. And during the crisis, I didn't strain. Why? Because in the days of my certainty, I prepared for the uncertain days. Think about health. How many, you know, we are told that every family is a disease away from poverty. But you know what? NHIF demands that you pay 500 shillings per month. And that will take care of you, your wife, and your children. But you would be surprised that most men that are watching us today do not have NHIF cover. and they get sick. And it is not wrong to call people to fundraise. And I've been there, I've supported people in fundraising. But if I can pay 500 shillings every month, and a disease comes in, and I go into hospital and I'm admitted, I'm treated, and I'm able to go home without paying anything. My wife gets pregnant, because if there's something that is also troubling men is women, they get pregnant.
Yes.
And when they are giving birth, and you know, giving birth can also bring about a crisis. You take your wife, you think they'll deliver normally, and there will be no crisis, and then they have to go to CS, you had not prepared for it.
Yeah.
The child is born, after 3 days, many times you are told there is jaundice.
Jaundice, yeah.
And they have to stay in hospital again for 5 days. They have to be put under a certain light. And you find it has stripped you, I don't know whether it is naked in terms of the money that you have. But if you only were paying 500 shillings for NHIF, these would have taken care of all these costs, and allowed you to carry your bundle of joy home with joy. But men are taking chances, and they are failing to take these steps. For me, I tell every man, immediately you get a job, join a circle. Start saving. If you start saving that early, if you're only able to save 500, pay it in. If you're able to save 1,000, put it in. Start saving, start saving. There are many men, when this crisis came, they had been saving for 10, 15, 20 years in circles. They just went and told them, there's a crisis. Either give me a loan that I'll pay in a nice way, or give me my savings I want to withdraw from this circle, and you paid your money. And they came to Kamulu and went about 10 kilometers inside, got a plot with their 300,000, put up a structure with their 200,000, and they're safe there with their families, and there's sukuma wiki out there.
Yeah.
So immediately you get employed, stop buying this music system that keeps the neighbors awake.
And
start saving in a circle.
For cars.
Yes, when you see us driving now, we did not start driving when we started working.
Yeah.
So when you get this job, don't allow that pressure to be on you. Start saving. If you hear there are plots that are being sold, you know, when I was a student, plots around Utawara and Mihango were costing 30,000, 20,000. Those plots are now going for 6, 7, or almost 10 million shillings. As a young man, sometimes you come to me, I take you huko tunaishi Kamuru. Na kuonyesha plot huko unasema ni msituni.
Mbali.
You have the money, but you want to go to a place and buy a plot of 5 million.
You want to buy it, Karen?
No. Go and buy even a big piece of land. I know somebody who early in their life, they bought acres of land, and then and kept them there. When in their lives they started growing old and crisis came, they just went and subdivided those land. And now they're able to buy plots worth millions and put up houses worth millions because of what they did early enough.
Yeah.
So men can prepare for crisis. You can use the certainty of today to prepare for the uncertainty of tomorrow.
And the key thing is setting up
what are your priorities? What are the things that you will never want your family to miss? And then ask yourself, what can I do to ensure that even if I'm not working, there is no salary that is flowing? My children are in school. My children and my wife are well fed. There is a roof. Is it a roof or a roof? There is a roof on above their head.
Yes.
And their health is taken care of. Those 4 things are very, very important. And every man must think about them and say, if tomorrow I don't have a job, will my kids be in school? If no, what am I doing to ensure they will be in school?
Yes.
Very, very important. And not only even when there is a crisis, you must ask yourself, if I die today.
Very important.
Because many of us don't want to think about death. But we will all die.
Yeah, one day.
I might die after this show, and I won't die because I've said it.
Yeah.
If my time has come, whether I say it or not, I will go. If you die today, where will you leave your family? And as a responsible man, it is irresponsibility to leave your family begging and suffering, whereas there's something you would have done. Some of these covers I'm telling you, they take care of, you had like 300 shillings in a month on that education cover, and it provides for a cover on death.
Yes.
That if you die, they pay your family a ransom. They waiver the premiums for the rest period of the policy. And when your child is going to that institution of higher learning, they give the money they promised you. But many people don't want to do this. They want to listen to myths and lies,
Yeah.
that insurance companies just want to make money from you. They will never pay you. I'm here as a testimony. I don't work for an insurance company.
Yeah.
I'm an auditor and a pastor.
Yes.
But an insurance company paid me when my daughter was going to high school.
Amen.
So I can encourage men to take those covers.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Simon, talking about priorities, I know that you say that during when COVID came, during the pandemic, there are many men who lost their jobs, others, salaries, nusu ikakatwa. And talking about priorities, some of them, they don't want to lower the standard or the lifestyle they used to have. And so they are living in debts. What should they do?
Wow. You see, I said when you're in a hole, you should stop digging. You're having a salary. Let's take a number, 100,000. That was before the pandemic. You were doing all those things Reverend Warui was saying. You were saving in a circle. But then it's very, very important to do three things. It's good to have a bank that you save your money from, or your money with, that gives you liquidity when you want it. It's also good to save in a circle, because circles, you're given 3 times your savings and all that, and you're able to do a few projects here and there, and to secure your life. And as Reverend is saying, to secure your life, you also need insurance covers against medical covers. Actually, medical things and all that. Someone said, do you know, even when you're driving, your car is insured.
But you
as the driver,
even the people
actually,
you are carrying,
if you're carrying people, the
They
people
are-
that you're carrying, they are insured.
but you,
But you as a driver, you're not insured. Very few people, people know that, but they ignore that, or
Yeah.
they think the insurance covers them because he got it on insurance. But let me tell you for a fact, you are not covered. So it's good to cover yourself. Now, you are earning 100,000. And that 100,000, you were able to, you have had some money in the bank, you had some money in the circle, and you are also contributing for the insurance to cover a few things. Now, that 100,000 has been slashed to 50. Yeah? Say those costs, 30% was 30 or 40% was taking care of these costs. That is 30,000. Tax is 30. So you are left 30, that is 60, you're left with 40. So 40 ungefanya a few other things here and there. Now the 40 is not there. What at 40? Imekula into your savings, the savings that you used to pay for insurance.
yeah,
Because you see, insurance, some people think it's a luxury, and it's not. So it's easier for people to default or to not pay for their insurance, not knowing the benefit. Or you used to save in a circle, so unaacha to save per circle. Now, once all these incomes have been reduced, you have to do 2 things. One, either get into debt and continue getting deeper and deeper into debt, because your incomes, you know, there was a time I talked about cash flows in a show that I have. When you're looking at what is coming in against what is going out. So what is going out is more than what is coming in. So what does that mean? You either stop reducing, you either stop the amount of money that is going out by either umesema watu wamekataa kwenda kwenye to reduce. I used to pay 30,000 and my salary has been reduced and I still want to pay 30,000. You know what will happen? After some time, for you to pay that 30,000, you have to borrow.
yeah,
And for you to keep paying that 30,000, you have to borrow and keep borrowing to sustain that life. Unless you add another job, or you your salaries are reinstated once the things go back. So if you do not stop getting deeper and deeper into debt, it will lead you into depression. And people don't want to, some men don't want to be told that you've stopped living in Kileleshwa, or you stopped living in Kangemi. Now sorry, not Kangemi, you stopped living in Karen, Alihamia Rongai. There's nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Actually, someone said, people don't care. I know people are very concerned about how things are and what people will say. But let me tell you, people will talk more about you if you're not able to pay, na nyumba imefungwa, ama watoto wako wamefukuzwa shule, rather than ulihama from Karen to another cheaper place that you can afford.
Yeah.
And it is okay. As I said, seasons come and go.
Yeah.
And I like what Reverend has said. I was telling someone the other day, I shifted from the time I started schooling to standard 8. I went to 8 institutions. I think I've said that before. 8 institutions. And all my parents were doing is ensuring that I have good education. Sometimes they are not able to afford, and they have other kids that they're taking care of. So they have to take me to a different school. I suffered some point, but then again, I never lacked school fees. Whichever school I was in, whether very expensive, I never lacked. When they couldn't afford that expensive school, they took me to a cheaper school, and I never was sent out of school because of lacking school fees, because they were able to adjust. Whether people talk, people definitely will talk. I know of a person who came to see where we were living. The same thing Reverend Warui is saying. Watu wanakuja wanaangalia kule unaishi, and they're like, there is one who said, ata akipatua free.
Yes, go.
Ata ngoko na moge hetoho. I cannot. Yeah? And you know, this person, ameanza kujenga, saa zile sisi ni wakubwa. Yeah? So, at the end of the day, men are concerned about what people are saying. And the truth of the matter is, people, I know this sounds not very realistic, but this is the truth. People don't care. Where you live, people don't care.
What you drive.
We will look at you and say, wow, that's a nice car. We'll look at where you live and we say, that's a nice place that they live. After I say that, that's it. Me naendelea na maisha yangu.
Yes.
I don't really care what you do with the other hours that I'm not thinking about you. So when you're concerned so much about what people think about you, you will get yourself into depression, trying to please people that don't even like you in the first place. People who are wondering what's the problem with this one. We know they don't have a job and they're trying to live this kind of a life. You know, live your life, run your race. It's your life. It's okay to move houses. It's okay to put your house in rent.
Yeah.
Actually, I know of a person who was one of the celebs. Alisema after COVID happened, alifunga everything here in Nairobi. Wakaenda Eldoret to kuishi na wazazi. And the life there was affordable. Yeah. Really, with the little monies that they were able to get that time, it was way, actually anasema now, well, family inaishi Eldoret. He comes and hustles. Yeah. And still goes back to Eldoret because he never thought that life would be wonderful, because uko na lipa pesa kidogo, lives in a big house, fresh food, everything is awesome, you have a gated community, all these things at a very affordable price, rather than you are seated here in Nairobi suffering and life has become very difficult for you. So it's okay to scale down, rather than, because you see, it gets to a point, and what Reverend is saying is very okay, but I'm looking at, you're in a crisis. You've done everything that you were supposed to do, but yet it didn't work out. Now you're in a crisis. What do? You have to survive. Yeah. You have to live. Your kids have to go to school. I cannot afford 100,000 that I used to comfortably pay their school fees with, but I have 20,000. What do I do with my 20? I have to scale down. Yeah? And it's okay. By the way, it's very okay. And I said 3 things. You have to get a bank account that you save with. You have to get a SACCO that you have. It's very, very okay to have that. And an insurance company to secure yourself against uncertainties. Because as Reverend says, these are certainties that will definitely happen at some point. Dying, you will have to die. I know of someone who was telling me that now I need a house. I'll get houses. I will put them on rental. But what happens if rental income is what you are looking at and there are no people to rent that house? What do? You have houses, but as in Awatu, what
right
do
there
you do?
you have a crisis.
It's a crisis.
Yes.
So you have to survive. You have to survive. And someone was telling me, Nyobanedo.
House is smoke.
Yes.
Yes.
What happens in your house, we don't have to know. Na ni vizuri wanaume sometimes kujificha uchi. Is there a word like that?
Kujificha uchi iko.
Not telling the whole world of how you are suffering, how you've been miserable, and you do not want to. People will help you for some few months, a few days, but people are human. Sometimes what will choke her. And when they realize you're not changing, when they realize you're not putting in effort to better your life, you're still wanting to get comfortable, you're still wanting to live that kind of a life that you used to live, even with your changed incomes or changed sources of income. Because I know of many businesses that closed down, people that were doing well. I was told of one institution, I will not mention which one. They were big. It was, I think, who was telling us about that? There was one institution that was big in Nairobi. So what do they decide to do? They decide to take some money and set up an institution in Rwanda. Immediately they set up in Rwanda. COVID happens. What do? Do you stop living?
No.
Because that's a crisis right there. Do you stop living? The banks are asking you for money. You ulikuwa umefanya projections and everything was perfect, you know. And then we always advise people to have their fund, contingency, emergency fund that would last you 6 months and so. What happens when that contingency fund runs out? Do you stop living? You have to move on. You have to fight. You have to meet the basics and ensure that you live and survive and not give up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. And thank you so much. And I can see we have quite a number of people who have joined us this beautiful night. Thank you so much to all those who are tuned in. Can see Carol Makutwa. Yes, they are. I think people need to learn to live within their own means without trying to please others or the society. Planning is key. Yes. And Caro again says, I think also like Pastor Warui is saying, investment and insurance need to be included in the current curriculums as early as high school. There is no proper knowledge when it comes to investing. Continues to say that we think investing ni ya wadosi, but kidogo kidogo hujaza kibaba. Kweli kabisa, kidogo kidogo hujaza kibaba. Bernard Warui, no. Mary Bernard, Warui, I don't know what has happened.
I think it's when I said that I can die after this show.
Oh! Okay, and Winnie M. Rev Roy giving very good and practical solutions. Thank you so much. And if you're there, kindly, you can share the link with your friends that they can be able to follow what we are doing. This is the City Gate, and this is the show where we tackle issues concerning men. And we come to you every Monday. And I am here with Reverend Warui and Simon K. Rev,
yes.
Let's talk about debts. Can debts put us into financial crisis, and how should we manage our debts?
I think there are so many families that are in financial crisis, not even because prices have gone up, not even because there is COVID, but because they went into debt and they are not able to manage that debt.
Yes.
And even before COVID came, there was a lot of suffering. And I think the reason is one, that it has become very easy for us to access debt. That I can hold my phone here, and as we sit and go through the show,
yes,
I can borrow 300,000.
Yeah.
And it is goes into my account. And that has made it very difficult for many because when you look at the figures that are flashed in terms of our debt, whether you're talking about Fuliza, whether you are, you know, people even borrow when they don't really need to borrow.
Talking about that, I went with someone somewhere and he told me, let's go and have lunch. And he realized he don't have money.
Akafuliza
5,000.
That is the thing. That is the thing. That is the problem. That debt has become very easy to access.
Yes.
And people, what people don't know is that due to the expansion of the technological space, it is now very difficult for you to hide. You know, it would have been easy for you to take debt with your SIM card, throw it away and get another SIM card. But now, you really can't do that. They will still get you. You have to. So there is Furiza, there is all these apps that have come up and giving debt. Some of them at very exorbitant rates. Many of us don't read the small print to know what we are really committing ourselves to. People have committed their homes because people are telling them, if you just bring the logbook or if you bring the title deed, we'll give you this amount of money. But they have not assessed their ability to repay. They have not assessed their ability to repay. And there are a few things that are important when you're taking debt. Number one, you should never take debt for recurrent expenditure. Because as Carol is saying, you should live within your means.
Yes.
And so if you have to borrow to pay rent, if you have to borrow to buy food, if you have to borrow to pay children's school fees, if you have to borrow to go to hospital,
maybe some
buy
people
medication.
Will say that we live by faith.
That is not living by faith. That is foolishness.
That is foolishness.
It's ignorance. We live by faith. That is true.
Yeah.
And we eat what faith has provided.
And maybe faith has provided a way I can go and borrow this money.
It's not faith that has provided. It is your greed and your appetite for money that is not yours that is driving you to go and borrow money. So you should never borrow money for recurrent expenditure. That is my point number one. Point number two, you can borrow money for investment or for capital expenditures that will facilitate, will either reduce your expenses or facilitate generation of income. If I go and take a loan to put up a home, that means this home will have some value in terms of its capital value, and it will also get me out of renting, and therefore will reduce my expenditure. Or if I take money and invest in something, a business that will be generating income, it is bringing in income. And as you take that, as you borrow that money, be very sure of what you need. Borrow only what you need. If I need 2 million for a certain capital investment, I should only go for 2 million, even if I qualify for 3 million. Because many times people will go and the bank tells them, by the way, you qualify for 2.5. They'll take 2.5, but they only needed to invest 2 million. And they will never be able to explain where 500,000 went. And when you receive money, there is always a beckoning everywhere for spending, and you spend the money. So people should only borrow for capital expenditure, investments, things that are reducing their income, and not for the recurrent expenditures. If you realize that you have plunged into debt, the first thing you must do is accept that you're in a crisis. Accept that you're in a crisis, because many men are so proud. Their ego cannot allow to accept. Like he said, if you are, in fact, in one nugget in one of my books, is that if you find you are in a pit, don't continue digging. Accept that you are in a crisis. Number two, swallow your ego, sit down with your relevant stakeholders, and let them know that we are in a crisis. There are men who are deep in debt, but the ego cannot allow them to tell their wives that they are in debt. It cannot allow them to sit their children and tell them, men, we are in a problem. We cannot continue living the way we've been living. If the wife writes a text message, tukujie na nyama leo,
anakopa,
the guy goes to Fuliza, because his ego does not allow him to tell the wife, I don't have money. If the mother texts and tells him, tuko na fundraising kanisa yetu na nataka uniboost. Hawezi kuambia mama yake ya kwamba sitaweza this time. The ego cannot allow. When their friend comes and tells them, si tuingie hapa tupate nyama choma.
Is that ego or pride?
They're the same thing. What is the difference?
Tell me.
They're the same thing. It's pride. Calm down. Sit first with your stakeholders. Sit with your family. Go to your bedroom. Tell your wife, sweetie, if you call her sweetie.
Nikubaya.
Baby, if you call her baby. Nyokafi, if you call her nyokafi.
Koru.
It's bad. Things are kwagimaya.
Elephant.
Talk to her. Tell her this is where we are. And we are in a crisis. And we need to get out of this crisis. Sit your children down. If you have children who are 10, 12 years, they'll be able to understand. You don't have to always buy them that PS5. And they already have a PS4. But your son, you have this ego that your son must see you as a hero. You have to go and borrow to buy a PS5. Sit them down. Tell them this is what is happening. Now, after communication, and I've always told people, and I think I've said it in this show before, one of the strongest lessons I learned, and one of the greatest strengths I got, is the ability to say no and not feel guilty. You call me to a pre-wedding, and I tell you this time, You call me to a church fundraising, I tell you this time, I can't.
So as men,
we must
need
learn to say no and not feel guilty.
It is not sin.
Yes, even to your most significant people. Then sit them down. Then you have told them we are in a crisis. Now, let now start brainstorming on what will be the solution out of this crisis. Is it scaling down like he's saying? Must we move from Ruda to Kayore? Must we move from a 3-bedroomed house? Get your child to understand that everyone has been having their own bedroom. But from next month, you will be sharing one bedroom. Let your wife understand that you have been receiving a kiatu ya mokanya every month. This month, you have to do with the one that you've been having. Let them know that we have been operating a fleet of 3 cars. Moja ya shopping, moja ya kupeleka watoto shule, ingine ya kwenda kazi, na ingine ya kwenda road trip. Let them know now we have to sell all these other 4 and we have to retain only 1 car. Let them understand that. Calm down. Let that pride be done with. Let them know that they now have to leave that private lucrative school that they have been. And they now have to move maybe to a public school that is close. Discuss that with them. Let them understand and walk that journey with them. And then, when you have done that, now go and talk to your debtors. How are you going to deal with this debt? Sit down and calculate. Don't try to borrow from John to pay Jane. Then you borrow from Ben to pay John. Then you borrow from James to pay Ben. Then along the way, John meets with Ben and
start discussing this guy.
Yes. Stop borrowing. People will talk and you'll be known. Facebook has become dangerous. I remember there's a time I had to rescue someone because a guy posts him on Facebook because he has refused to pay his debt.
There is a page known as buyers
beware. Someone will na ukianikwa unapata hapo mwingine anasema hata mimi yako na zangu. Hata mimi juzi, hata kumbe amekuwa taperi. Stop doing that. Be candid. Go sit with people. Tell him I know I owe you money. Go even to the banks. They reason. The people who sit in those banks are human beings. Who have a heart and their veins flow with human blood. Go sit with them and tell them, man, this is what I'm going through. And some of these banks have even provisions where if the interest is escalating, they have a provision where they can stop. They can actually, I don't know, but I think there is something I've seen like that they can stop the escalation of the interest rates and give you a grace period. So talk to relevant people. Like he said, don't go telling the world your problems. But the relevant people you need to talk to. If you owe Warui 100,000, come and talk to him. Tell him, man, this is where I am at.
There are some who will decide from today I'm not picking Warui's phone.
And that is wrong. That is not what they should do. So don't avoid people. Don't try to borrow more to pay the ones you owe. Go sit down with the ones you owe. Tell them, this is the crisis I am in. I plead with you that you understand me. I'm trying to manage myself. Talk to your family. Tell them these are the debts. Because again, there are men who are in crisis. Their wives' accounts are
Rich.
They are rich.
Yes.
But this guy cannot go to talk to the wife. And if they just go talk to the wife will tell him, by the way, I have 1 million shillings in the account. Why don't I get it and we clear these debts and then see how we move forward?
Is that an issue?
Take away the pride. It's not communication, it's pride.
It's pride.
But also women, because there are women who are listening to us, sometimes men behave in a certain way because of how their women treat them.
Yeah.
That if a man comes and says, if you text the man and tell him kuja na nyama, then aseme leo sina pesa, ataanza kuulizwa umenipita na nini? Umenipita tu na trouser. Unajua siku hizi wanavaa trouser. Siku zile hawako wanavaa trouser, unaambia umenipita tu na trouser. Wewe ni mwanaume wa, please understand that your man can get into a crisis. Yes, umenipita. So men sometimes will try to manage their crisis and die in that crisis simply because their women are not giving them room to express themselves.
Yeah.
If I don't have money, I should be able to freely tell my Mary that I don't have money this time round. I think we have to try to manage with what we have as we wait.
Yeah.
So women also must be able to help men to manage the crisis they get into. But I think men also need to come from the pedestals, come down to a level where you can communicate, get a structured way. And let me say this, there are consultants out there who are not expensive, who can help you restructure your debt, your financial debt. So I actually know somebody who have helped people get out of debt. The key thing is you must be willing to be advised.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll tell you, stop driving, get onto your matatu. Sometimes they'll tell you, move from this place. They will analyze your debt, analyze your income, and tell you what to do to be out of debt in 3 years.
Wow.
So consult. Usikuwe mjuaji. In fact, in financial matters, consulting, you would rather pay a consultant. There are guys who refuse to pay 100,000 to a consultant, and then they lose 1 million, trying to do something that they don't know. Yes, they're trying to do financial investment, but go to a consultant like this guy, sit with them. You would rather pay them than lose more trying to do it your own way. You know, with money, you don't do trial and error.
You don't
consult experts.
Thank you so much.
But there are people who can help you restructure your debt.
Felix Luther is saying that he needs to know the books you have written.
You need to, yeah, I have written 4 books.
Yes.
One is called Youth Pitfalls. It handles matters to do with teenagers. Looks at 6 pitfalls that teenagers can fall in. The second one is called Achievers in Christ. Really redefining success. That success outside of Christ is no success. And, you know, many of us, like we were discussing before the show, think that success is the vehicles we drive, is the, but that this book helps redefine success and give you a true meaning of success. And then I have one called From the Pastor's Heart. It has 150 short messages that are inspirational, reading it 3 minutes every day, and it keeps you going, looking at different areas. And then I have one on marriage called Imperfect but Fit for His Purpose. Wow. Talking about lessons we've learned about marriage with my wife Mary. We wrote it after our 14th anniversary. Wow. Now we are going to the 16th, so most probably we might write another one.
Felix Luther, you
yes.
have it now.
Yeah.
And maybe you'd love to get in touch.
Yeah, just get on Facebook, search for Bernard Warui Wairura.
Yes.
Go to Instagram or Twitter, search for Pastor Warui.
Yes.
Inbox me and we'll get in touch.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm told that our time is almost up, but you are a banker. Would you advise people to go get money from these people called Shylock?
Wow. I think I would say number one, there's something that they say, easy come, easy go.
Yeah.
And Sherlocks, they take advantage of one is greed, because some people, as Reverend is saying, are looking for money that they actually don't need. If you analyze one of the laws of investment is, if you have some investment that you want to do, something that you want to buy, you're supposed to take 30 days. It's called the 30-day rule. You analyze, you look at whether you want to do that investment or not, or buy that item or that suit or not. And if at all after the 30 days you still need that item, you can still go for it. Now, why do people go to Sherlock's? They go to Sherlock's because they have an urgent need, and I need money now. And sometimes people want to get into deals hoping that that deal that they're getting into will give them money, and quick money. And sometimes, which is most of the times, you will find that some of the monies that are taken from Sherlock's to get into deals, sometimes those deals go through and people make money. But when you critically analyze the interest that you pay from Sherlock's, it's not worth it. I remember when banks were charging 30%, the difference between banks and Sherlock's was not there. And that's why that's why they want people that's why the Uhuru government wanted to actually they worked towards reducing the interest to, I think, 7 plus 4, which is 11% to 13%. And very soon we might go back to the 15, 20 nauko, yeah, which is very high. So if it is something that you actually don't need, I would highly advise don't go there. And as Reverend said, the reason why people are going into this, it's the ease of getting that money. And I can assure you, wachana na Sherlock's, the current Sherlock's mobile apps. Because when you calculate the interest that are being charged to people for 7 days, for 21 days, for a month, if you do, and as Reverend said, people don't look at the fine print. They don't even look at they don't even tell you how much they will charge. Actually, ask anyone who is going to the Sherlock, how many people look at the interest they will pay for that money that they're taking. Wanakuja kuitishwa pesa and they're like, no, hapana, hii muku niambia. You know, when you're told you're supposed to pay 30% on 100,000 for a month. For a month. No, not for a whole year.
It's a month.
A bank is charging you 15% for the whole year. A Sherlock is charging you 30% for 1 month.
Na pesa bado ni yake.
Yeah, for a month. So if you can avoid, okay, I'm not saying don't, but if you have other sources of getting funds, a friend, family that you can talk to, person that will help you out of a scenario, or if this issue can wait, yeah, don't go to Sherlock's.
Don't go to Sherlock.
Yeah.
I want to hear from Rev. Should people go get money from Sherlock's?
No, they shouldn't. I would categorically say no, they shouldn't. And that is why Simon started saying that when, and combined with what I said, when you're stable, create relationships that will keep you going. One of the key relationships is your bank. Your bank will give you a loan at 15% when they look at what has been flowing in and flowing out. Go to a circle, start saving little by little.
Someone is saying, I need that money right now. And the bank, their processes, I have to follow.
And that is,
there is a guy here.
And that is a problem.
Who is within a reach. Nikupiga tu simu pesa inaingia.
And that is a problem. There's nothing urgent in this world. This planet can't stop rotating because you've not acquired that thing. And if you don't acquire that thing, and it is acquired by somebody else, doesn't mean tomorrow you won't acquire it. You sell land. Is your land the only land being sold?
No.
So if you sell your plot, I'll be able to buy another plot. You know, I always tell people that we were unable to buy plots when they were selling them at 30,000. When they're selling them at millions, we are able to buy. So there'll always be that time when you can do that which you need to do.
Amen.
And so don't go to Sherlock's. Don't go, if anyone is charging you for debt, anything above 17, 18,000 on the higher side, don't go for that debt. Have a relationship with your bank, have a relationship with your circle, have a relationship with your friends, and if they can't afford for now, there is a future. There is a future. And so don't go to Sherlock's. Don't go if anyone is charging you for debt, anything above 17, 18,000 on the higher side, don't go for that debt. Have a relationship with your bank, have a relationship with your circle, have a relationship with your friends, and if they can't afford for now, there is a future. you have hope for tomorrow.
Thank you.
Live to buy that thing tomorrow.
Thank you.
And as you're buying from a Shylock, to eat food, because you're on the ground having fainted for lack of food.
So that's okay.
Uko kwa ground, hata uwezi mama ndio una sasa uko kwa simu ukitafuta chakula.
I'm told that our time is up. So thank you very much guys for coming. Kindly give us your final remarks in a minute.
Wow. Final remarks is we cannot afford, because of crisis, to give up. They say that if you give up, you deny a generation your time. If you give up, you deny some investments that would have gotten your name on them, an opportunity to make their way into your life. Never ever, because of a crisis, write yourself off and say, I can never rise out of this crisis. I can never get myself out of this crisis. You can, and God is on your side. You have more playing on your favor and for you than what is against you. If God is on your side, and their friends and their people who are wishing you well, that crisis will not put you down. Get your hopes up there.
Amen.
You will rise again.
Amen. Thank you. Your final remarks for a minute.
God is our source, and we should never forget that. That He's the one who provided when we lived well. He's still on His throne. We sang and said, Mambo sawa sawa. Yesu akiwa enzini. Mambo sawa sawa. If He was on the throne yesterday and I ate to my full, He's still on the throne today when I don't have enough to eat. He's the one who supplies.
Yes.
And when He supplies, He not only supplies what we need, He also supplies wisdom. In that head of yours, the Lord put in brains.
Yes.
Brains for stewardship of what He has supplied for you. When He gives you seed, don't eat it. Wisdom tells you, go and sow it.
Yeah.
When He gives you fruit, eat that fruit. But in every fruit, get the seed. Go and sow it. If He gives you a fruit tree, don't cut it down. Nurture it.
Yes.
He has supplied for you not only the food, tumia akili ile Mungu anakupatia.
And God cannot use your brain on your behalf.
You must use it yourself.
It is you.
Yes.
Thank you so much. And that marks to the end of our show this beautiful Monday. Thank you so much to all those who have joined us. My name is Willie Kinyash, and you have not gotten my book, Couples Will. This book is Healing Marriages. Get in touch with me. Go to the Facebook, search for Willie Kinyash, and you'll be able to find me there, and you can get my book. We are doing free delivery nationwide. So wherever you are, the book will be delivered where you are. And also, if you want to get books from Reverend Warui, get in touch with him and you'll be able to get his book. So asanteni sana. God bless you and see you on Monday. Rev G, we missed you. See you on Monday. God bless you all.
Good night.
God bless you. Good night.
Good night.
Bye.